Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Blake, and welcome to the second day of HT Next. Now, I'm the CEO of HT&G, and I'd like to share with you just very briefly what HT&G is. We're a nonprofit global association dedicated to moving the hospitality industry forward. We try to bring great minds together to collaborate both on the vendor side and also on the hotelier side. Now, for those of you who don't know about HT&G, let me give you a quick rundown on its membership. Now, we have 4,500 members. We cover about 5.5 million rooms worldwide. Now, some of us during the pandemic, it's been tough, but membership has no one has recognized or realized the strength and the need for HT&G rather than in this pandemic. We have been able to maintain membership, and we still continue to add value and provide with a sense of community. Now, we also have great leadership. We have a board of governors, all made up of some very senior leaders of the hospitality industry. We have a vendor advisory council, which represents the key vendors within our organization. And we also have a lot of work groups that we're putting together, and these are things where everyone can interact. So there's got to be a topic out there that you guys are interested in, that this is how we move the industry forward. These are how we solve the problems. We take vendors and we take hoteliers, and we take all these various representatives and people who are interested in the topic all throughout the world and solve these related issues. And as you can see, one of the highlighted ones is the hospitality operations revitalization. Now, that is code for some of the work we've been doing around the pandemic, and because the entire operation has been somewhat turned upside down. And what we've done is reimagine the stack in this new world. And I think if you're not part of that, and we will be issuing guidelines, and by all means, come to our site, htng.org. We would love to have it. But that's my mini intro of HT&G here at HT Next. And once again, we certainly appreciate the partnership with HT. We think the world of them, and we're doing some great stuff together. And once again, without further ado, let's get right into the keynote from JetBlue Technology Ventures. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, AWS.
Everyone, I'm Joanna Todd, Head of Worldwide Accommodation and Lodging for Amazon Web Services, known as AWS. AWS is proud to be a presenting sponsor of HT Next at a crucial time in the hospitality industry. It's been amazing to see companies leverage technologies to continue to innovate during this challenging year, and we're looking forward to seeing what other innovations are inspired by HT Next. After you've done engaging with HT Next and all that it has to offer, I invite you to check out AWS's premier event, AWS reInvent, which runs through December 18th. There's some great cloud technology content, and for the first time, reInvent is both virtual and free. Especially take a look for session number TRV202. It's a terrific conversation with Scott Strickland, the Executive Vice President and Chief Information Officer for Wyndham Hotels and Resort. He'll share his story about how he and his team continue to innovate and build resilience for the long term. That's session TRV202. If you want to learn more about AWS travel and hospitality, go to our website, aws.com/hospitality. Thanks very much and enjoy the conference.
We created JetBlue Technology Ventures because the future of travel is being shaped by new ideas and game-changing technologies. And we wanted to be right on the front lines alongside the entrepreneurs to help shape the future of travel together. We focus on areas like the customer experience, revenue management, maintenance and operations, and the regional transportation ecosystem.
I'm Robert Firpo-Cappiello, Editor-in-Chief at Hospitality Technology. My guest is Bonny Simi, president of JetBlue Technology Ventures. Bonny is an airline pilot, former broadcast journalist, and three-time Olympian. Bonny, welcome to HT Next.
It's a pleasure to speak with you today and all of the guests that'll be here in the conference.
Now, that word next obviously plays a huge role in our conference of hotel technology. Your job, by definition, as I understand it, is to keep an eye out on what is next on the technology horizon. I'm curious how your barometer of innovation has changed in 2020.
Sure. Well, I probably should sort of lay the groundwork for what JetBlue Technology Ventures is. We're the corporate venture arm of JetBlue Airways. So we're based in Silicon Valley, and we started about 4 years ago with the idea of how do we keep JetBlue ahead of the technology, out in the future, because we've always been known as innovative, but technology is evolving so fast, even more than in the past. And as it turns out, that now as we start thinking about what's happening in 2020 and the entire travel industry is being completely disrupted. And this is actually a good time for startups, because startups, we can even just go back just 10 years, and with the downturn we had there, and that's when Uber and Airbnb started. So, what if a hospitality company actually had a seat at the table early on in these startups? And that's what we do. We find new technologies, new startups, and we're able to pivot very quickly. So when everything changed earlier this year, we started looking for new technologies in sanitization, UV, health passports, contactless technologies, and we're able to source those new ideas very, very quickly, what normally JetBlue would not have been able to do, but especially in a challenging time like today. So for us, having sort of that outpost that we can quickly turn on a dime and find new solutions to new problems that emerge very quickly. And that's how we've provided some value so far this year.
We've heard this from companies that do use technology in various ways, that 2020 in many ways accelerated initiatives they had hoped to start or had already started, and it just had to kick into high gear. So much has changed in terms of guest expectations, travel plans and behaviors, and of course, hospitality operations. Has that has opened up pathways to innovation for you?
What's interesting is we had planned, one of the programs that we do is we call it an innovation sprint. And we work with a particular department or group of departments within the airline and say, okay, what's an area that you're interested in exploring and you want to find new technologies? And our customer experience team said, we believe that more self-service, our customers want to do more and more self-service. And so we had set up an innovation sprint for contactless technology. Now, we had set this up for January before COVID hit. So you can imagine, as we started, it was a 12-week process. You can imagine all of a sudden that accelerated things. Our customers did not want to go to the agent and talk to someone. They wanted to use the kiosk. They wanted to use the app. And I look at that the same way in the hospitality industry. We've been in the hospitality industry. We've been trying to get more and more adoption of the apps, the keyless technologies, the go straight to the room. And we've gotten some adoption. The technology is there, but the customers weren't quite ready to adopt it. Now they are. And so this has accelerated those new technologies. And really, from the moment a customer now comes to the airport, how quickly and seamlessly and contactlessly can they get through? I mean, think about even getting through TSA. It's now getting faster and better, more technologies like Clear and some of these other technologies. And now the question is, once they get off the aircraft, how can they get to their destination and into their hotel room in that entire travel ribbon in a contactless way? And that's why I say, these innovation sprints, you don't have to be a corporate venture arm to invest in startups to do an innovation sprint. And so this is, even now when we're doing a little bit less investing, just because, the industry is challenged, but we've upped our innovation sprints. And so this is something that any company can do, is you bring all the departments together and say, what are the challenges? And then a small team can go out and find the technologies that could solve it. And often it's just about exploring what's out there that then can stimulate the ideas and for the team, and then escalate what's the business case. The customers want much more seamless experience. And the same thing with sanitation and cleaning. That, you know, customers always expect a clean hotel. They always expect a clean aircraft. But now it's put so much more of a lens on it, because before, clean used to basically, what was the definition of clean? The definition of clean is you didn't see any dirt. Well, with germs, you don't see them. You don't see COVID. And so now it's more about, you know, what kind of sanitation sprays or UV lights. We would have never thought of that before. But now that's something that we think about quite frequently. And so do our customers.
I love the phrase innovation sprint, and as you said, it could, you know, I could picture it applicable to almost any organization.
Yes.
The word sprint implies a time-bound quality. Yes. What kind of time frame do you prefer?
So normally, and we've done these innovation sprints from all different departments, everything from the contactless one, as I mentioned, to for our legal teams, for sustainability, for airports, for payments, all of these different things. And they normally are 12 weeks. So we meet with the team, the departments, to hear what is it they want to learn about that might be new around the corner in their area. And then we sort of bring them out to Silicon Valley to do that one-day workshop. And then we spend 3 weeks finding all kinds of technologies, anything that could to meet their needs. And then we meet with them again, and we go through, maybe it's 100. We shoot for like 100, and we work with them to winnow those down from 100 to 6 over the course of 12 weeks. And it's seeing what's out there that helps stimulate their ideas. And then we wrap it up with like a pitch session, call it a Shark Tank session, you know, with all the startups coming in. Now that's normally 12 weeks, but when business changed on a dime here in February, early March, we had to pivot very quickly. There wasn't time for us to run 12 weeks to find out what are the UV solutions out there that could, you know, flashlights in the aircraft to sanitize it. You know, 12 weeks from now, who knows? So we did work very, very quickly. And you know, the contactless one, we did in 6 weeks. The UV technology was in 3 weeks. And we've done a couple of them in a week, where we, like, the health passport is an example. You know, that's kind of an emerging concept. When we say health passport is, you know, you want to go to Hawaii. Well, you can't go to Hawaii unless you get a COVID test. And it's a certain type of test that they have to have. And, you know, it's right now you upload to websites. What if there were an app that you upload and it was synced, right, from the different testing labs? So those are, and several countries are doing that. Aruba is looking into it, which is a very innovative area. And I know Aruba's involved in with HT Next as well. So different countries are looking at it. So this health, and we did that one in just a few days even.
Yeah, we love that idea. I think everybody in the industry loves the idea of a standard yes, passport that says, yes, you're good to go, or no, you're not. Yeah,
and without sharing your it's just like a little green thumbs up or a thumbs down. So it's not sharing any kind of HIPAA data or any of that kind of stuff. But if it's seamless, and again, if you keep hearing me say this word seamless, this is what is the holy grail for both of our industries. Our back-end systems, as we all know, are not exactly seamless. And there's a lot of older technology. And how do we, as an industry, elevate beyond that technology and use new cloud-based systems? We think of blockchain as something coming in the future. So we ran a blockchain summit where we bring startups from the entire travel industry in, the hospitality industry as well as the airline industry, who are exploring in the blockchain space. There hasn't been any true breakthroughs yet, but we do see that one coming.
We're always looking out for ways that for cross-industry pollination, and especially it seems to me that especially at the level of innovation that JetBlue Technology Ventures is dealing with, there are plenty of opportunities for hospitality brands to partner with airlines.
Yes, and I think, you know, if we let's sort of put a whole convergence of things together, of these trends or themes that we're seeing. So one is a seamless, one is contactless.
And then and when you combine all those together, how do you think about longer stays? So now, since employees are working remotely more often and conferences are happening remotely, we're finding that a lot of customers actually want to go somewhere and work remotely from a vacation destination. So it's for a longer period of time. So we're starting to see some airlines, and we're thinking about this too, of how do we partner with destinations and with hotels to offer up packages. People think of vacation packages, and we offer those now, JetBlue Vacations, for example, and other airlines. But how about sort of work staycations where you go to a destination and stay for 3 weeks or a month and work from that hotel? How does that change what the hotel environment is like? If people are going to stay there for, instead of 2-3 nights and be outside doing all sorts of things, what if they're going to be working from there? What types of different rooms and spaces might you think about? So this is where, and so when we then can combine and create these packages, these are ideas and innovations that we're starting to see emerge.
Like a work from anywhere package, or
yes.
I know at least one hotel chain has an officer to help kids who are doing virtual learning, who can do that from anywhere.
Yes.
I love that idea.
Yeah. So there's, it completely changes how when you don't have to work from an office, it completely changes how companies can work. And so while we may not have these large conferences where everybody getting together for, it could be another year or so, all of those people crave to travel. And if we could do it in a different kind of way. So this conferences, you're not zooming in from home, you're zooming in from these vacation destinations where you're staying for a month.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm eager to ask, what kinds of startups are you most excited about? There's so many interesting ventures that you are supporting. Are there some startup projects that you can share with the HT Next audience?
Sure. I'll share a couple that might be relevant, as we think jointly. And one of the things is how might airlines and hospitality work together. I think data is a very interesting source. And so when, right now, I know a lot of companies are looking at the TSA throughput data, because that then says if people are traveling through TSA, then they're going to another destination, and that's where we'll start to see more traffic and more hotel stays. So, but what about checking and clicking on, taking website clicks and seeing what the intent to travel is? Think about when you have the intent to travel, how you can then send targeted emails and such. So one company that we have is a company called 3 Victors, and 3 Victors is a company that pulls all terabytes of data from search streams all the way through to booking on airlines on market by market. So if you want to know how many people are going from New York to Orlando, regardless of the airline, you could get that from, and it's publicly available. People can just go there. And so if you're a hotel destination in Orlando, wouldn't that be nice to know where are the customers coming from? And as you want to see what impact does quarantine have or not, when a quarantine opens, how much more travel is there? When an announcement goes out that I'll use Hawaii again, because that's fairly, when it was announced that come October 15th, people could go to Hawaii. That was announced about 3 weeks before. So all of a sudden, how many people were clicking to go and thinking about going to Hawaii without booking the ticket? So this data is really interesting. So that's one. We have another one, again, contactless. This is something that's very interesting. We have a company, Unico Aero, which does baggage delivery. So they can pick up your bag and bring it all the way through to your destination and bring it to your hotel. This is something that we see that travelers really want, because again, it's less contact with others along the way. Now I'll think about far off in the future, but actually not too far off in the future. For aviation, something that we see, and it's something we're very passionate about, is sustainability. And in the sustainability space, especially we want to move towards more reduced carbon emissions, right? Because aviation, so sustainable aviation fuel. But how about electric propulsion? Think about what electric propulsion is doing on the cars. So we see that moving into the aviation space, and we've invested in a company called Joby Aviation, which is an electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. It's called an eVTOL. Think of it as a helicopter, but it turns into an airplane, and it's quiet and it's electric. And then you can go from one end of the one end of a town to the other, just as fast or faster than a helicopter, but without using having any noise or pollution, and at a third the price. So we see this is called urban mobility. And we see that as a new emerging trend. So that kind of leads into sustainability. And I think in the hospitality industry, sustainability will become more and more important. Not just because it's the right thing to do, because that's what our customers want.
Very, very cool. Bonny Simi from JetBlue Ventures, we have time for one more question. And sure. I love the fact that you're not just president of JetBlue Technology Ventures. You also sit on the advisory board of Pebblebrook Hotel Group. Mm-hmm. And I'm very curious how those dual roles. We've been talking about some cross-industry initiatives. How do those dual roles inform one another?
It's been fascinating sitting on. I also was on the board of Red Lion Hotels as well. So I've sat at public company boards in the hospitality industry. And part of the reason I think is, our industries are so parallel and have so many unique challenges, but actually they're very similar. And so using this example right now in the COVID environment, what our customers want in the aviation travel space is exactly what the customers want in hospitality. So it's a lot of synergy. So a lot of those conversations and these ideas about sanitation, about data throughput, how many people are traveling and what are the markets and what's the mix of business and leisure? Those are the kinds of conversations that we're having at JetBlue, but we also have at Pebblebrook. Contactless journey is something that's very important. And then I'm just going to come back to that sustainability, because both at JetBlue, we're very passionate about sustainability and environmental social causes. And so is Pebblebrook. And so that's a conversation I bring both, we share the public sustainability report from JetBlue to Pebblebrook and then vice versa. So, how do you bring, because this lifestyle brand, JetBlue's a lifestyle brand and Pebblebrook's a lifestyle brand. So it's a lot of synergies there.
Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Bonny Simi, president of JetBlue Technology Ventures. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We are now going to transition to questions from our audience. There'll be a brief switch over in platform. Those of you watching, you don't have to do anything. Your screen will change and we will start taking questions from the audience. Hi, it's Robert and Bonny. We are here to take live questions from the audience. You can chat them to us, and we will do our best to field them. Bonny, I have a question. Someone is asking about JetBlue Technology Ventures venture called Gladly, which has to do with customer communications. Mm-hmm. And you could see how that would be extremely relevant to the hotel sector. Could you tell us a little bit about Gladly?
Absolutely. In fact, Gladly came out of one of our innovation sprints. So our head of customer support out in Salt Lake, she was tasked with coming up, what's the future strategy for customer support? And at that time, several years ago, the only way to contact a customer service representative at JetBlue was to call 1-800-JetBlue or to send an email. Well, customers now are moving away from making 1-800 calls and email. People don't do that. They want to chat. They want to, have these conversations in real time and web chat and such. And so what we wanted is, how do we think about communication in an omni-channel kind of way? So if you start a chat and then you decide to go to a phone call, it doesn't, all of that history and information carries over to the phone call and vice versa. So you have a human-to-human conversation, regardless of who the customer service representative is. And so that's what our customer service team wanted. And so we went out and found 200 startups that did some version of that. I mean, we all in the hospitality industry have seen these AI chatbots and all these things. And so we had 200 startups and we distilled it down to 8 of them. They came in and pitched to our customer service team. Gladly was one of them, and we just fell in love with their style and their brand. And so we ultimately implemented with Gladly, and oh, by the way, we did invest as well. So, and then we helped Gladly develop their platforms. And so this is how, again, it's thinking of what do customers want, and our technology wasn't fully integrated in the it was all had legacy technology, and now it's a fully integrated omni-channel communication platform.
Mm-hmm. Love it. And we love the whole concept of keeping the end user, the customer, in mind at all times. And actually, our next question from an attendee is directly related to that. Customers would love, when they check their luggage at the airport, they would love to know it's going to arrive at their hotel at their final destination. And apparently it's something that Disney tried at one time for their resorts. And our attendee is asking, is anything like that on the horizon?
Yes. So that seamless customer experience that I mentioned before, our vision is that if you are going to go on a JetBlue flight or a JetBlue vacation where we know where your hotel is, we want you not only to have your bags go seamlessly, but we want to have a car picking you up and your bags, and then the bags are after you've gone through clearance, the bags are handled or picked up on the other end. But there's also a car that picks you up on the other end and brings you to your hotel. And oh, by the way, you have keyless entry to your hotel room. You've already checked in. And oh, you also have selected what activities you want to do. And it's all seamless and on an app. So this is something that we think about. We have we invested actually in a company called Unico Aero, which is a baggage delivery company. Currently we use them for tracking lost bags. We never want to lose anybody's bag, but the reality is occasionally we do. And so now in some of our destinations, you can actually open up, instead of filling out that form, go to the baggage claim office, and then you wonder whatever is going to happen to my bag. You do it all on an app, and we keep you updated. Just like, an Uber car, you can watch on your app and see where your car's coming as delivered. You can see where your bag is. And so this is the type of technology, and that company hopefully over time will evolve into delivering to hotels as well. So this seamless, another example of this, and I mentioned it in the video, is the urban air mobility. A lot of our customers fly down to Fort Lauderdale and then get on cruise ships. And there's always a concern, am I going to get there in time? How am I going to do it? How do I get from the airport? Maybe they go to the airport to the hotel to the cruise ship. And we can imagine that you will have an electric air taxi picking you up at the airport and bringing you right to the cruise line or right to the hotel. So, just seamless customer experience. That's what people want.
Love it. We have a question from an attendee that's it's a great segue. They're not doing it on purpose, but this is a great segue, which is what kind of metrics do you apply to a venture? You've funded it, you've followed it for a bit, a year or several months, 2 years, whatever that is. But how do you say, okay, is it really moving the needle in the area that we expected it to or hoped it would?
Yeah, so we are strategic investors. So there's, in venture arms, usually what our traditional venture capitalist is, they invest in a startup and their only metric is a financial one. Do they have what kind of multiple on the investment do they get? For us, yes, of course, we have some financial metrics. We certainly don't want to be losing money on our investments, but it's more important about how is it going to improve JetBlue. So we think about the same metrics that we measure in airline would be very similar in the hospitality industry. So how do we reduce cost? How do we increase revenue? How do we improve customer service and enhance safety? So those have numbers and metrics at the airline. Revenue is an easy one. We can track that, and efficiencies and cost. And so those are metrics that we use. We also think about expanding our business model. So we had JetBlue Vacations, but now we're actually expanding what we'll call JetBlue Travel Products. So it's a much broader, because JetBlue is a really great brand name. How do we use it in other areas? And so thinking about that seamless journey and working with hospitality partners, doing direct. We actually have a direct partnership with Disney. So you actually can, through our vacations, book directly, and we're directly interfaced into Disney's system. So these are the types of things that we use.
Cool. And I love how JetBlue Vacations makes it easy.
Yes.
one-stop shopping and usually very good prices. We have a question about revenue management. You mentioned in our intro video, our sizzle reel of JetBlue, you mentioned revenue management. Of course, perhaps never a hotter topic than at the moment. And a hotelier is asking just to elaborate a bit on those ventures.
Yeah, so we think about revenue management in airline industry and revenue management in hotels very similar, and it's largely driven on historical patterns. So what did people pay on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving last year and where this year? And then it's, we get the data from competitors afterwards. So it's historical and looking back, but not going forward. And there's also constantly new data streams. We'll have, we call it the snowbirds. Well, all of a sudden when a weather event comes into the Northeast, all of a sudden people will last minute book flights to Florida. And so if we actually included forward-looking things like weather predictions, or if we included click streams on the website, and started using new data sources, but that requires a different way of thinking and requires machine learning and artificial intelligence. And so prediction of pricing on a market-by-market, flight-by-flight, day-by-day. And so we invested in a startup. They were very small initially. It was a company called Flyer Labs, and they built out our models, and it's becoming extraordinarily intriguing on how they. Now we haven't gone full live yet, but we've been testing them for quite a bit, and we see that their next space is in the hospitality industry. So for exact same reasons, you can pull in those same data sources, and in fact, then they can bring in air travel data sources. So thinking about revenue management in a completely different way, and that's rather than just looking historical. I mean, historical matters sometimes, but now that we're in COVID, the historical data doesn't mean anything. Machine learning, applied machine learning and revenue management is the wave of the future.
Mm-hmm. We have time for one more question, and it's a good one. An attendee would like to ask you to share some thoughts about JetBlue Technology Ventures work in reimagining accommodations, and this is obviously an extremely relevant question.
Yeah. So we saw the evolution of what Airbnb was doing, and we're thinking, what are other ways, and how can existing hospitality companies reimagine their offering? And so again, we keep thinking about the technology and connecting the two industries is how we can start reimagining, because then we can bring a value proposition that some of these smaller companies that are just offering their, the houses or whatever it may be. So we've begun adding and connecting accommodations and activities to the platform. A company called Redeem is one that's doing that. We also are thinking about these revenue management. How do we take Flyer? There's another one, Transparent, that's a really interesting one that is pulling in data. So these data sources, and how does that then help the accommodation industry? There are these new ways of looking at the longer stays. This is an area we've had longer stays, and we've also seen work from locations. And so we're working with some startups that are actually doing sort of these work staycation type opportunities. We haven't invested yet in that area, but we see that as a burgeoning area, and we think that's an area that established hospitality companies really need to be thinking about. It's the stay for 2 nights, travel in, travel out. The business traveler, we see that business travel will take a long time to recover, but leisure will not. So how about that bleisure? We call it bleisure. So it's business and leisure combined. And so we're doing a ton of innovation in sprints in those areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it reminds me where I'm fielding these questions at my home, at a home office. I could easily be doing it from Lake Tahoe, couldn't I?
Exactly. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Bonny Simi from JetBlue Technology Ventures. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you and hear about these incredible ventures and how they relate to the hospitality industry at large.
I'd love to add one point is for those who want to learn more about it, just go to jetblueventures.com, and we have a newsletter, and we put a newsletter out every 2 weeks, and we talk about these innovations. Friends, you can sign up there, and I'd love for us to get even more connected with the hospitality community.
Very cool. We are interested in learning more about innovation sprints. So it's this is a win-win and something we're all going to be hearing more about in the future. I'm going to fling things back to Abby Lorden, Vice President and Publisher of Hospitality Technology. Abby is going to walk the attendees through what's coming next on the program this afternoon. We're off to a great start with day 2, and Bonnie, you helped set the stage for day 2 in terms of innovation and thinking imaginatively, and we love that. We've got some cool things coming later today, including a workshop, and then of course tomorrow we've got our IT leadership panel and several other things on tap. So thanks again, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Fantastic job, Robert and Bonnie. That was such a great session, and I really enjoyed hearing about everything that JetBlue Technology Ventures is doing. I'm just going to offer a quick look ahead at what's going on here over the course of the remainder of today at HT Next. We're thrilled to welcome everyone back. If you haven't had a chance yet to explore the HT Next environments, there are 7 of them, and they're loaded with great content. Many our solution providers have thought leadership content that's accessible within those spaces that helps to put some context around how their technologies could be used in those sorts of environments within individual hotel properties. So we really encourage you to explore those environments and check that content out. If you see something you like, go ahead and download it to your briefcase. Anything that you're interested in consuming later, you can go back to your briefcase and review. One quick tech tip. This is a pro tip for anyone. If you're having any difficulty seeing the complete screen, hit F11 on your keyboard so that you can maximize the screen, and that should allow you to get to some of the areas that you might not be able to click on when your screen is minimized. It's especially the case if you're working on a smaller monitor. So F11 is a pro tip. From here, we're going to move directly into our next session, where I'm thrilled to have a conversation with Aspen's CIO on how they are preparing technology to welcome guests to the 2020-21 ski season. That will start in the on-property experiences room in just a few minutes. Then immediately following that, we have a live session with hot new data that Hospitality Technology is just about to release on the voice of the hotel customer, which is so relevant to what we just heard Bonnie discussing. We surveyed a great group of consumers that are part of the industry, and fantastic data we're going to be sharing in that information. And that's a session that'll begin at 2:05 Eastern here in this auditorium. We have our interactive workshop taking place in a little bit. If you are interested in the interactive workshop, just a quick reminder that you access those by clicking on the icon at the bottom of your screen. Then you can enter the workshop lounge. Our workshop today starts at 3 o'clock Eastern. That's open to all of our hoteliers. We encourage you to join, as well as today's workshop discussion sponsors. And then we'll have a fun reception this afternoon at 3:45 Eastern. I'll offer another set of reminders about that a little bit later on. If you're going to join us for that reception, that's open to all of our hoteliers and all of our sponsors. And it's BYOB as long as it's relatively timing appropriate wherever you are. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll run on over to the on-property experiences room and have a conversation with the CIO of Aspen. Thank you.